let's jump into this season that we're in now. Pre-season, Pirates out in Spain. What did you make of them, Delmain? I mean, 3 games played so far, and I think they're back in the country. 3 games played so far, and they conceded 1, scored 4. What did you make of them out in Spain?
Phenomenal, to say the least. The coach said it's them painting a good picture of South African football, and they did that, absolutely. Against some decent, Maccabi Tel Aviv obviously was a bit of drama around that fixture because of their policies, but Pirates came out, shut it down, continued with the match, won convincingly. 1-0, Patrick Maswangani, the guy who moved to the club.
We'll touch on that later. We'll touch on that later on.
That one pains me.
Yeah.
That one pains me.
Yeah.
But he scored twice. 2 of the 4 goals were scored by him. We saw Swaibu, the Cameroonian striker of this. He scored, although there was doubts about him. We see a Fortune Makaringa score. So I think phenomenal. Pirates are preparing themselves not only for the PSL but for what's going to happen in the CAF Champions League. There was one instance in the Las Palmas match where they lose the ball. I think Mutswari loses it in the middle, and one pass, hit it in the through ball, 1-on-1 with a Fori. And that's the difference really between playing top class opposition and playing mediocre opposition, with all due respect to other teams. And in the CAF Champions League, that's going to happen. You are the top team, then you concede a handball and you lose because of it. You know what I'm saying? So it prepares you. A lot of people are saying, but they're not going to play Las Palmas in the league. Yes, but they're now learning how to suffer, because against Las Palmas, they suffered in terms of possession. They didn't have possession as much as they would have liked, but they now learn to shift. They now learn to, you know what I'm saying? So I think great for both them and Sundowns, and also credit to Riviero for taking them to Spain, ensuring it. We know the cost that comes with this, so it's not a cheap exercise, so it can't be in vain. It needs to be for something. And it's probably a conversation we'll have later, but we're going to see something different from Pirates.
I want to touch on what you just touched on now by saying it's a lot of money being used for these camps. I mean, we saw with TS Galaxy, they couldn't maintain it themselves. They needed players to chip in their own monies. Cox, how important are these European trips? Are they things that South African teams need to, take action in? Do they need to participate, or maybe just take the Kaizer Chiefs route and go across Africa?
Look, we also need to be cognizant of the fact that football is business, and there'll be different reasons why different owners embark on these trips. But holistically, they're great. TS Galaxy, for me, I don't think it was more of the football and the playing style, the reason they went abroad, but I think more of marketing their players and to say, hey, look at us.
Teto's gone.
Yeah, look, market their players and say, hey, look, we do have a product that you might be interested in. So come through and pay the price, and then we'll gladly give you. But a Sundowns and a Pirates that would be going there. I mean, for example, it's just a shift of a gear. They want their team to notch it up a bit, to go and play a different breed. I mean, for example, for me, and this is my opinion, Pirates and Sundowns are the 2 teams in the league that would barely go on the defense. They're teams that are very offensive, and so I'll call them the alpha males. They'll be the ones that are going on the hunt. So now, if you're in different terrain and you're being hunted, the hunter's being hunted. Now it teaches you to say, "Hey, look, your predatory instinct, fine. They guide you to move forward at any given moment. But look, be on the lookout. The fact that you might be punished at any given moment." He's mentioning a pass that was put through, just one pass, and that's it. So it kind of gives you that input to say, "Look, yes, you're playing football. Yes, you're playing high octane football, Randy, but sometimes you need to put on the brakes." And now comes in where you have to switch on and be aware of the fact that this is the time that I need to switch on the brake, because a lot of people felt that Sundowns got knocked out of the Champions League because they didn't know when to put on the brakes.
And that's something you learn with experience, right? You learn when to switch off and when to be on, in moments of the game. That's something that a coach learns as time goes, right? But let's conclude this preseason conversation. But looking at Orlando Pirates specifically, I'm looking at the fact that they scored 4 goals, which is, it's a good return. It's a good return, about maybe 1.2 maybe goals per game, if you look at it like that. But last season they scored 12 goals less than Mamelodi Sundowns. I think they scored about 40 goals last season. And to catch up with Sundowns, firstly, they need to sharpen up at the back, but also important, they need to score more goals. Looking at the fact that they've had Lepasa out on loan at Supersport United. They had Mabasa out on loan at Gukune United. Evanga was there. Erasmus was there. But not a lot of goals were coming from their own strikers.
Yeah.
Should Pirates not be shopping for a striker, in your opinion?
History will tell you that Pirates never had prolific strikers. The last 2 strikers from Pirates who went into double figures was Kabadinho Mhango under Zenbauer, scored 16 goals. Prior to that, they had Ndoro. Ndoro had scored. But most of Pirates' top goal scorer season before last was Vincent Pule.
True that.
Last season.
And sorry to interject on that. Just to support your point, I mean, the all-time Pirates goal scorer is a midfielder, Benedicto Villegas.
Crazy.
So last season, the top goal scorer, Saleng, a winger. So something tells me that Pirates aren't known for having these goal scorers who are going to get you. They don't have Shaluli, Grobler. You know what I'm saying? So something tells me that it bodes well. I always say that instead of having one player who scores 20 goals, if you have 5 players that are scoring 5+ goals each, if you have a large scoring.
But you don't have that. I'm looking at these numbers. Evanga, 15 games, 1 goal. Lepasa, 23 games, 3 goals, 1 assist. And of course, that is some of the time spent at Supersport as well.
Yeah.
Evidence Mahopa, 6 games, 1 assist. You got Kemit Erasmus, 25 games, 4 goals and 5 assists. And then you've got Maro, who's from the Cameroonian. Played 5 games, no return for him. And Tsoro Fatumabas, who spent time out as well. But
And Ops, actually, you mentioning those players and you mentioning the names and the numbers actually proves that they don't need a striker. They don't have to have a striker. I mean, you mentioned all the strikers and they say the goals are not coming from them.
Yeah.
And you go and mention the middle fielders and say, okay, something is happening there.
But you need to bridge the gap now between yourself and Sundowns.
100% bridge the gap, but you don't necessarily have to follow a template. There isn't a blueprint in terms of this. It seems like Jose has identified their play and he's going the Spanish route, and the Spanish route dictates that there should be a false 9. Yeah. Zuka was there. He offered that, and I think I've been a huge fan. If you go to the timeline and look at the Zuka tweets that I've had, I've always been a huge fan for Zuka, because I think that he gives you more than just any other striker. He doubles up as you know, he can play in the middle field, he can go up front in any of the front 3. So I've always rated him, but they don't have him anymore, and that's a huge blow for them. And for them losing that, it tells you that, look, they have to try and get, I wouldn't say a striker, but somebody in this similar mode, a false 9 type of player.
Yeah. Delmain, you wanted to talk about Patrick Masangani earlier on, and he's and you mentioned the fact that, you know, he left Supersport United with, you know, not a lot of people expecting that move to happen. I mean, a breakout season for him, along with other players in that Supersport United side who have actually left. But coming to Orlando Pirates itself, they've ticked Masangani in there as well. He's one of the players they've brought in. Looking at the squad they currently have, how good of a season are you anticipating them to have following the 2 trophies they picked up?
For the past 6 seasons, it was almost a foregone conclusion, at least from a media perspective, at Sundowns. I mean, Mazola tweeted in August last year
that your son gives
give them
the
give them. And that has been the general feeling around. This season, not. This season, there's something different. If there's one team that can go toe-to-toe, I mean, they clapped them in the MTN 8 last season, 3-0. Yeah. If there's any team who can go toe-to-toe with Sundowns, it's Pirates. And also, why I say that is because of the credence to the underdog. You know, Saleng's debut, his official debut for Pirates, was against Sundowns. MTN 8 first leg.
Yes.
We all get the team sheet. We're at the stadium. You look, say, hey, number 14.
Saleng.
Saleng goes on to kill people. People were eating grass at the stadium. If you remember correctly, there were people falling around like they were at the ice rink. And then he introduces guys that are not popular, that, you know, the fans are thinking, why is this guy playing and not the other? We want Lodge. You know what I'm saying? Then you get Miguel Tim, who was rejected by other clubs. Let me say this on my chest. Chiefs said he was too old. He was offered to Chiefs. They said, nah, he's not the age we're looking for.
When was this? Was this before or after Kuala Alexandra?
After. So they just signed Cole Alexander and the Baxter, obviously. Then they were offered the opportunity to sign Tim, and then they said, no, thank you. Then Sikukune was like, no, we'll welcome him with open arms. And then Pirates comes in like, no, thanks.
What a great season he's had.
We'll have him. And then look at that. So it just shows that, again, boring Riviero, but effective in a sense that everyone gets a chance. Everyone comes in. You do well. I mean, a 17-year-old Ratomo comes in. That boy is natural, like a duck to water.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So if we can see more of that, if we see the evolution of the underdog, then we definitely have a strong Pirates team that competes with Sundowns. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely think this season the script is changing a bit where we won't see tweets about give them the league.
Okay.
Yeah.
But do you think that I get give them the league, but at the end of the league season, who's taking it? Do you think that it would go that far to say maybe 3-4 games?
It won't be 7 games.
It won't be 7 games.
I put my head on the block and I say it won't be 7 games. Once you learn how to suffer together, and we see the importance of preseason. If you go back and you go and watch the Bucks camp, see how those guys opened up to each other.
Yeah,
I'm speaking
yeah.
to you with tears in my eyes about losing my son, about losing my mother, about almost dying. Saleng, his car was compromised just before the derby, where his petrol pipe was cut. So now, if we have that kind of trust, it's kind of difficult for us not to die on the field for each other. You know what I'm saying? And also, we can't discredit other teams. Supersport have signed.
That's where we're going next. That's where we're going
There's
next.
Chiefs under new coach. So all I'm saying is that it's not a foregone conclusion.
Sure.
In as much as Sundowns have gone and strengthened their side even further, but it's not like set in stone. Like Sundowns are going to win it. You know what I'm saying?
Cox, I'm coming to you with this one. Unfortunately,